And welcome into the Monday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keys are here with you. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We got a lot to get to on the program today. Corey Curtis will be with us at 8 o'clock for his weekly visit. We will be all over the Tennessee Titans and a magnificently entertaining preseason game number 2. Take your thoughts on all that as well. Joe, how we doing? What's going on?
Doing great. As you said in the pre-show meeting, it is game week, so the butterflies are already swirling here. High school football getting going here this week.
Big Nolensville matchup coming up. A lot of high school football going on Friday. I know, my wife does some stuff with Fox 17 and the Friday Night Lights broadcasts. They have a Thursday night game, a Friday night game, and a Saturday game broadcasting this week.
Really?
Getting after it.
Okay.
The high school coverage. So there you go.
Do you know the games?
No.
Okay. But that's good to know. I'm gonna check out what those games are.
I'm sure there's a schedule somewhere that I can look at.
Yeah. But that's interesting. That's fun. Hey, you know what? These college and pro games like on a Friday, I guess. Well, pro hasn't done. Actually, pro's
getting ready to do Friday.
Although that's like Black Friday though, right?
No. The Packers Eagles coming up Friday to start the season in Brazil.
God, that's right. Yeah, see, that's just ridiculous. Well, high school football, if you can take over other days, do that. This is a college football week too, by the way. It's week 0, I think, technically. I mean, some might call it week 1. Florida State, Georgia Tech highlighting Saturday in Ireland, I believe.
Yes.
So yeah, here we go. And this is, as someone, many have pointed out on social media, and I'll just copy without giving them credit, we are now done with Saturdays that don't have college football for the rest of the year. We are done. College football for the rest of the year on Saturday, every single Saturday from here. That's a beautiful,
exciting prospect, a very beautiful thing. And quite frankly, whether it's high school or college, anything that gets me to stop watching NFL preseason football, I'm totally cool with.
Oh, man.
I told you heading into the show, I made it, I think, 5 plays into the Packers-Broncos preseason festivities last night. I didn't really know they had shown up there and they went through joint practices. So I figured nobody was really going to play. And then on my little Packers app, I got the notification 5 minutes before kickoff that like 35 Packers were not dressing out in the game. And I was like, okay, not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I made it 5 plays.
The Packers app, huh? Does the Packers app play like the little Packers fight song too?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately not.
That's good though.
Do the Lions have an app, and do they play their fight song?
I'm sure the Lions. I'm sure there's a Lions app. I'm sure people are just going nuts with that. I don't know. I'll have to find that out. Brennan probably has it.
Probably so.
But that's good. So it's like a Packers app. So is it like the official site stuff, or is it like just Packers coverage?
Both.
Oh,
it's multifaceted, that app.
Wow.
They got a lot of stuff going on
That's
that
exciting.
Thing. But yeah, preseason football.
No,
after the beauty we watched on Saturday between the Titans and the Seahawks, which, hey, dramatic last-second field goal win for the Titans. We'll get into the game as much as I can stand of it here in the next few minutes coming up. But just saying, week 1 is fine. Week 2 of the preseason, it's brutal. It's rough around the league.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. There were a couple teams that did play their starters, right? I mean, different.
Mahomes made a nice pass behind his back.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. The Lions and Chiefs renewed their big rivalry. So here and there, you'll have stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, I actually think that this week, because of the way things have broken down with the NFL, I mean, Brian Callahan said it yesterday, and I think other coaches feel the same way. I actually think the last week of the preseason is probably decent in the NFL because everybody's like, well, it's going to be 2 weeks, so we better get these guys some work. So it actually might not be all that bad. I still don't want to watch it. Don't get me wrong.
I don't either.
But like, it's at least some players you will see playing on Sundays who will be playing this weekend.
So I guess we can look forward to that.
Yeah. So it's actually a pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good. You got high school football, you got college football, and you got probably better preseason lineups.
We're getting closer.
Yes.
Getting closer.
We're getting closer to pigskin pick'em, but Nick Keyser needs to buy a pizza before that happens, but I don't know. I mean, running out of time here, buddy.
Running out of time.
I can get you pizza anytime you want.
Now, you always say that, but like, I mean, when are you going to?
So do you just want me to give you a time and a place? Right?
I mean, we could talk about it. We don't have to talk about it right now.
By the way, I'm just looking randomly at the games this week for college football. Obviously, there's Florida State, Georgia Tech. If you really are starved for some college football, you can hang around to a 10:59 p.m. local start for us. Delaware State and Hawaii, coming up on Saturday night.
Hawaii always, I know. Hawaii always has a game this week 0 or whatever. Except they've had it against Vanderbilt.
They have.
A couple years ago, Vanderbilt went out there and blew their doors
Mike Wright
off.
ran for about 1,000 yards.
He did. Yeah. So exciting.
It is very exciting. Also exciting if you're a Tennessee Titans fan, according to insider Jeffrey Simmons. Apparently, you're going to see Arden Key available for the Titans. No 6-game suspension incoming, apparently. Apparently, he has won his appeal, although we've still not heard anything one way or the other from the National Football League, which continues to be amazing to me throughout this entire process.
It's truly bizarre. And by the way, here's another for all of you listeners who have been on the text line, like, this Arden Key thing, and how many times did I say, yeah, calm down. He's, it's not, it's just a formality. They just haven't announced it. Well, apparently it meant something. Wrong again. Vrabel's not getting fired. Vrabel's getting a job, et cetera, et cetera. No way they would fire John Robinson. No way they'd trade A.J. Brown. No way they'd, I don't know what, sign Julio Jones.
Julio's going to be great.
Yeah, no way Julio won't be awesome. You got to admit your mistakes. But, yeah, it's a very weird situation. And let me just say, this was in Rant consideration, but since we're on it, like if you're a Titans fan who's like, Paul Kaharski's terrible reporting. No, I mean, the reporting was accurate. Arden Key told the team that he had been suspended, and they, again, confirmed it while saying the same thing, like, yeah, the NFL hadn't said anything. And now Arden Key has found out he's won the appeal. What if Arden Key just made this whole thing up? I mean, what if, like, this is entire drama made up by Arden Key and nothing ever was actually happening?
He's trying to get away from Paul Kuharsk.
Yeah. Maybe he's trying to get it so everybody's like, that's the thing about the other day. The reaction was like, huge news for the Titans. I'm like, well, yeah, it's definitely better to have him than to not, but like, it's Arden Key.
I had a similar reaction. I was like, I don't know if it's huge news, but it is good news, I guess, for the Titans.
It's good news. Yeah. Look, they need as much help as they can at that position, and he's fine. He'll make some plays this year. But yes, this is not like like the league has shifted tectonically here because Arden Key is not going to be suspended. Weird situation, though. And again, Danico Autry, I mean, I haven't seen, like, the NFL apparently is just – Garcia was actually making this point. I think a lot of these things probably happen like this, and you never hear about it, right? And so then you only hear about the ones that don't win the appeal, and then it's announced that they have the suspension. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I'm like, okay, so maybe there's a lot of situations like this, and then everybody just keeps their mouth shut, and then you just don't hear about it if this is like a tree falling in the woods, does anybody hear it, right? So
could be.
So maybe that's it, and Arden Key just had to tell everybody when he got suspended, and now it gave Jeffrey Simmons a scoop.
The Jeffrey Simmons tweet, first off, was, man, I got some news I got to tell you guys later. Don't worry. I'll tell you here in a little while.
I thought it would be like, I just got some new whatever, like shoes or something.
Right.
Like, okay.
But now he's an insider.
He
so
is.
Go ahead and add NFL insider to the resume for Jeffrey Simmons.
Very congratulations.
Last month he's getting after the media, and now he's one of us. Didn't take very long.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Simmons, an insider now.
All you got to do is threaten one of us to become one of us.
So good news for the Titans on that front. Again, does my outlook for the team and like their chances against Chicago change drastically now that Arden Key is available in game 1? Not really. I mean, I don't know that it changes the equation too much one way or the other. But like you said, good to have more bodies there. Arden Key is a good player. Is he a starting level, every down edge rusher? I don't know. The history would suggest probably not, but I don't know. We'll wait and see what he looks like in this new system. But I certainly feel better about the rotation now if it's Key and then Weaver and then maybe Jalen Harrell, who, by the way, looked pretty good on Saturday night, rather than the other way around and being super, super thin at that spot.
Yeah, and we've talked about the quarterback lineup they face right off the jump. I mean, look, I'm watching Caleb Williams. I have no idea what it's going to look like in a real game. I have no doubt the Titans are going to throw a lot at him, and they're going to I'm sure, get after him and befuddle him, but also his escapability and his ability to make throws off script and things like that. And also his receivers, who are like, Roma Dunze is your third receiver, looks pretty good as a rookie. I'd say anybody you have who can sack a quarterback here or there would be helpful now.
That would be nice. Our resident Bears fan on the text line says, how about this buzzsaw of a Bears preseason team? Something special going on down there at Soldier.
Big wins in the preseason, just blowing the doors off people. You better hope for your Bears to get smoked in their third game, man. You do not want the preseason domination followed by 5-12.
No, this will be their fourth game too. They've already played the Hall of Fame,
right.
So they're going 4-0, baby.
That's right, which is why Corey Curtis was actually right last week with his Hey, look, I'm in all seriousness. Caleb Williams looks very exciting.
He
looks
does.
Good. I mean, I don't think they're cheeks.
No,
I mean, they're going to be a competitive team.
615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. We'll get into preseason game number 2 for the Titans coming up next. Take some of your thoughts, your reaction to that on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, the game. Hey, Robby Stanley here. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Well, we got something a little different for you now. Through September the 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. All you have to do, just visit FanDuel.com/Rob in order to download America's #1 sportsbook. Maybe you're like me. You want to watch the Green Bay Packers every week? Well, you can do it with this deal here. Make sure you go to FanDuel.com/Rob to download America's #1 sportsbook. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
What has to happen most for this team at this point over these next 3 weeks to be ready for that day?
It's a good question. That's a deep question. I think there's, we got to continue to see improvement, from really all spots. I don't think we're a finished product by any stretch. And as most teams do the early part of the season, you start to find out more about your team. And so those first couple of weeks of the season, you're learning about what kind of team you have every year. And I think every year is a new year. And so it's, that opening month of the season is always very revealing in a lot of ways. But we have a couple weeks left to continue to get better. We have a lot of work still to do this week. We'll have some situational work we got to focus on at the end of the week because we pick up an extra day in the practice schedule. But I just think that we got to keep kind of our nose to the grindstone and keep working, keep coaching, keep getting better, because that's what the good teams do. And I think that we have a chance to be a pretty good team, but we got to keep proving it.
That's Brian Callahan yesterday discussing the work his team needs to put in over the next few weeks before week 1 against Chicago. Got to coach better. Got to play better.
Yeah.
Long-winded version of it. But got to coach better, got to play better.
It was a nicer, more explained, fleshed out, thoughtful version of that.
It was.
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Hey, real quick before we get back on the Titans, I see a text here that's not from last Thursday at 4:17 p.m.
That's
so
good.
I'm going to read it.
We had a few of those today.
Yeah. Josh from Cookville says, good morning, guys. You all think Caleb Williams is being overhyped because the Bears are so starved for a franchise quarterback. I've heard everything about him nonstop at the national level, all for them to go 5-12 this year. Titans, of course, are not favored against them, which always seems better for them. But it's preseason for Williams. I try to temper my expectations with the Titans. Okay, so here's my thing, Josh. First of all, I'm watching the guy run around and make some of these throws, and I'm like, well, it looks pretty good. I think there's some element of this that's Bears, I guess. I mean, the Bears are, like a historic franchise, a huge market, but it's more about Caleb Williams. I mean, Caleb Williams, it's been a couple years now that people have been talking about. Some people, especially like quarterback evaluators, have been talking about like this could be like the next big thing. This guy is the most like Mahomes that we've seen since Mahomes came out in 2017, et cetera, et cetera. That's all too much to put on him. I'm not sitting there expecting him to be Mahomes, but it's not just about the Bears. It's about the kid. If he was somewhere else, we would be talking a lot about Caleb Williams with Washington or Caleb Williams with New England or whatever, right? I mean, he is.
I agree. It gets the hype train with the Bears is its own thing.
Yeah.
It's its own. It happens all the time.
Says the hating Packers.
Well,
fan.
they do this a lot.
Well, it's funny you say that, though, because someone said this. Oh, well, Jim Miller, okay? I love Jim Miller. I went to school with Jim Miller, a very fine Michigan State quarterback who threw to D-Mace back in the day. I think a little bit. They kind of crossed paths. But anyway, he was part of a Bears, surprise season, and he was a pretty good Bears quarterback for a while. He said the other day on the broadcast, I have not seen this kind of excitement for a quarterback. I can't remember. I'm like, I'm sure it's a little more. But Justin Fields just happened 3 years ago, right? And it was not totally unlike this, right?
No.
And Justin Fields make plays that are just holy, he still does. He still will.
Made one the other night, Pittsburgh.
Right. So let's calm down on that. You guys have been flipping out about other things before.
That's what I'm saying. It's been that place tends to overhype some things.
It does.
We'll see. Now, to your point, people have been talking about Caleb Williams for 2 years.
Before we ever knew he was going to be a Bear,
we knew he was going to be the number one pick in the draft 2 years ago.
Yes.
So this is a situation where both things can be true. Caleb Williams has been talked about for a long time. I got a feeling he's going to be pretty good. And yes, the Bears thing is adding a lot to it. There's no doubt about it. So we'll see how it plays out in week 1. You can make the argument, I guess, if you're a Titans fan, that seeing them early could be good. I mean, you could make the argument maybe before he's got tape on him that it could be bad. I don't know. We'll see what happens for the Titans in week 1.
I think it's probably good, right? I would think so. I would think
Marcus looked pretty good week 1.
That is true. But the Bucs were crap, weren't they?
They were.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's why those two teams. That's pretty wild that those two teams picked 1 and 2 and then played each other right away. For one thing. But yeah, no, he did. But I think I would assume Caleb Williams probably improves as the year goes on, and you got a chance to get him on some rookie stuff in that game. That's what you're hoping if you're Denard Wilson or per Koharski, Denard Walker.
Well, Either one. I'm sure
Yeah.
he's very much looking forward to the
That's
game
fine.
coming up in week 1. The Titans win 16-15 on a walk-off field goal on Saturday night for win number 2 of the preseason. Joe, I got to be honest with you. I looked up at one point because I'll just be totally frank. By the time it got late third quarter, early fourth quarter, doing some stuff around the house,
Sure.
I just looked up and was like, oh my God, it's 13-12. It's the most preseason score of all time. But hey, that kid can kick the fire out of the ball. Narison, good stuff from him. 59-yarder, and then hits the game winner, 16-15. What'd you make of preseason game number 2 for the Titans on Saturday night?
Yeah, well, you hit on one of the bigger ones. Narison. That's a heck of a story. And he was sick and all that apparently, and was able to go out there, and that was something. Jalen Harrell continuing to look like a guy. That was a good thing for the Titans. Gets a couple sacks. I mean, he shows up out there, and he's an interesting case because, when they drafted him, it's like a 7th round flyer, and I think some of the talk, about him was like, he made some plays in college, but my gosh, look at the defense he was on. That Michigan defense is loaded with great players and players who went higher than him in the draft. But they had some, say what you want about Harbaugh and Michigan. They have some pretty good coaching, and even though he was surrounded by a lot of talent, obviously the guy can play football. So he definitely stands. I mean, Chance Campbell running around, making plays, just always around the ball. I continue to be impressed with him.
Yep.
David Martin Robinson. I continue to watch him and say, I can see a guy at that size, ability to move like that and be that physical, potentially helping a football team. So those things stand out. I mean, obviously the offensive line was backups. I mean, we're going to see this week a lot. I think he said 3-ish series yesterday from the starters. So we'll get a bit. There's more that'll matter in this last game. I'm trying to think of who. Obviously there's the NWI thing. He played the whole
what the heck
game.
was that?
I don't know.
What are we playing NWI all night for?
Poor NWI.
Good
He's like, all right,
gracious.
fine, I'll just score a touchdown then. He took one. I mean, he took one in the back. I'm like, oh, see, this is why you just. And I understand the NWI. Now, Brian Callahan has clarified, because positionally, those guys technically play different positions. I consider NWI, positionless basically because he can go anywhere. But still, like, where is he primarily a backup? Well, he's primarily a backup, at the spot where I guess he's going to play. Burks is not playing. I mean, Callahan described it. They play different spots. I still would say I take this as a little bit of a endorsement for Burks, I guess.
I would agree.
I mean, a little bit of a I mean, Traylon is a little bit higher on the totem pole in terms of let's protect him and not play him. I mean, because you could rationalize playing him in this game as much as NWI if you wanted to see him out there. Now, Burks also tends to get hurt. So is that part of it? I could see that being a little bit like, let's see if we can get this guy to the opener because he could help us. But yeah, poor NWI just has to play the whole preseason
taking
game,
shots,
so,
scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
Good gracious.
Just go out there and just play all night. NWI. Did he get in a fight and we didn't know about it?
I don't know.
It was actually a secret punishment
behind the bubble fight over there with somebody on the Seahawks.
He did, by the way. Last week when they were getting all these fights and stuff, and the Seahawks got all excited because they got a PBU, but there was a PI.
Yeah.
NWI, because they were still like, like celebrating. He went and grabbed the flag off the field and like brought it over to them and like handed it to this dude, like put it in his face, like, ooh, NWI. Spicy.
What did you make of Rudolph and Willis and their performances on Saturday night? Rudolph, 10 of 17, 125 yards and a touchdown, quarterback rating of 101.3. Willis, 12 of 16, 116 yards, one interception, quarterback rating of 68.8. Willis also did have 30 yards on the ground.
Yeah, Rudolph was a lot better, and those numbers don't really reflect it, but Rudolph is like, there's not a –
he's QB2.
Yeah, and it's, like Callahan. So Callahan's going to be really, really forthcoming on a lot of stuff, way more than Vrabel, as we talked about. Like this whole, he might be better than Malarkey at the. Okay, guys. All right, so now we got left ankle, but it's this ligament here. Look at this PowerPoint. It's this ligament that's hurt. It's fantastic. What a breath of fresh air. Just a lot of stuff where we'll talk about the kicker situation.
Yeah.
Nah, folks, the kicker.
Yeah.
Vrabel, absolutely. Like, well, we'll do what we do, and you can do what you do, and da.
We got competition at all positions.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate that, but there's a line that Callahan won't cross clearly, which is like when we all know like a position battle's won. He even said that about the right side of the line, though. Yeah. He has said, Braden's pretty different. But with this, well, we'll figure out back. Okay, fine. We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph's the backup quarterback. He's significantly better than Malik Willis. And Malik Willis, I think, will be on this team. And I guess some people can make the case for him not to be on the team. I think he will be, and I think he should be.
Herb from McEwen says, great, we got another great field goal kicker and an average offense. We'll get into the field goal kicking part of this coming up next. Take your thoughts, 615-737-1025. Your takeaways from Titans preseason game number 2. This is Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game.
It's so weird, like
No doubt. My range is longer than 59. We'll leave it at that. A little surprise for you guys. So.
Okay. When you hit it, like how sure were you?
I was sure. Right when I hit it, I knew it was in. Yep. And so Ty got a great hold. Morgan had a great snap, and I was, I'm blessed. Morgan is one of, if not the greatest long snapper of all time, and then Ty's a fantastic holder, great teammates. So tough to have any better than that. So.
Is the winner more of a thrill or the length?
The win. I mean, they were both instrumental in the win, but the game winner to me, because at the end of the day, I want the team to win. I want the team to be successful, and the 59 feels good. Don't get me wrong, but the one at the end to win feels a lot better.
That's Braden Narison, new Titans legend, after the game on Saturday. A 59-yard field goal in the game for Narvison and a game winner to walk things off 16-15, the final score.
Hey, Braden, I want your top 5 right now of the top long snappers of all time. That is a bold statement, my friend.
Apparently,
I want the list.
Apparently, the Titans have a GOAT on their team.
I did not know he was good. He's a very good long snapper.
Well, apparently one of the greatest of all time.
Indeed.
Maybe the greatest. I can't sit here and tell you that Braden Narison is wrong.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean,
in his breadth of experience,
yeah,
he has not seen better.
He's not seen
so,
better.
I mean, what can you say, So I got a Stilly text the other night, of course, after this.
Okay.
So, you know how Stilly, like, he
never prisoner of the moment.
Well, yeah, prisoner of every moment. But he, of course, he shows up, he goes to practice, stuff like that, and then like whatever, he's drinking a high noon and a sweet or whatever during the game, and then it's like, hey, ask this question. So he said, he said, ask if there's a kicker battle. The weird thing about that text is I got it like about 6 or 7 minutes after Corey asked if there's a kicker battle, and it was already answered. So I'm like, so what kind of delay are you on here, Stilly? And I texted him back. I said, yeah, Callahan shot it down instantly. Do we have that, by the way? Do we have Brian Callahan's response to the kicker question from Corey Curtis? Because it's a pretty definitive no.
Yeah.
Quick, definitive, nah, we don't have that. Now then Jared sent me a tweet because, of course, I don't follow his tweets and I never will. And he said, guys, Nick Folks makes $3.5 million in guaranteed money this year. He is the kicker. And my response to him was, $3.5 million isn't a non-starter if this kid is way better than Nick Folk.
Right.
And he says it is because they wouldn't give Justin Simmons $8 million. Okay, fine. And the cap's fake. All right. But I will say, I think Callahan's answer is pretty clear. Here it is.
Nick is automatic, but he can't hit from 59. Does that make you take another look at that spot?
At this point, no, I don't think so. But I think it was good to see hit from 59, and Narvison hit it. So no, I don't think that changes much at the current moment. But it was really a positive development for us and for him that he put that on tape and enter live action to hit that field goal.
Okay.
So, and I think it's, I take it for his word. Nick Foles could be the kicker. I will say, if Narvison on top of that, and I can't tell you if this is true or not because I have not been like closely tracking Braden Narison. If he has been consistently great day after day after day, and this is now your chance to get the young kicker with a huge leg, and now you have him for a long time, then you absolutely $3.5 million does not deter you from at least considering that if he is that consistent. And I know the Titans would love to, when they cut him, to be able to sneak him on the practice squad. Yeah. The question is, will they? I mean, I'm guessing no. I don't know.
I mean, look, the cut down day in the NFL, now that they do it this way and it all happens at the same time, I mean, it's a crapshoot. So I have no idea if they'd get him through the practice squad or not. But I'm with you. Like, Nick Folk was great last year, and I've got pretty good confidence that Nick Folk is going to be reliable this year for you. So I have no problem with him being your kicker. But we've talked about this for seemingly 5 years at this point. At some point, you do need to find your young kicker of the future that you can develop and that is a part of your team for the next 10 years. Like, that's the goal, right? Like, you need to find that guy. And it's been a while since the Titans have had that guy. So I don't know if Braden Narison is that guy or not, but I do know that, just drilling a 59-yard field goal and then coming in there and kicking a game winner, it's a preseason game, so everybody, it's not like it's super high stakes, but for him it is, right? Like you're coming in for an opportunity to show that you can make a clutch kick, and he did it. So I think a really good showing from him, and I would at least, if I'm the Titans, and I'm sure they're doing this already anyway, like I'd be paying pretty close attention to how he kicks the ball this week and seeing if he could make it interesting by the time next week rolls around here. I mean, I'm intrigued. Like he talked about in that clip we played coming back from break, his range is longer than 59. He's like, I knew instantly when I hit the ball that it was good, and he can kick it from longer than 59. Well, what's your range? I mean, we saw the kid from Dallas the other day just drill a 66-yarder right down the middle. Like, that's a pretty good weapon to have at your disposal if you can be somewhat consistent with it.
No doubt. But again, it's like Folks 29 of 30 last year. So Narison was he's Western Kentucky, NC State for a year, 18 of 23 as a senior, which is good. That's good. He had a 57-yarder last year. Then again, that's the second longest field goal in Nissan Stadium history per Kaharsk. So that's pretty good.
I remember the longest.
Yes, Baronis.
In the cold against the Colts
to win it, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, if I know that like from 45 in, it's absolutely automatic with my field goal kicker. Whereas, yes, much bigger leg, but here and there you just have the random. It's just not totally consistent as much as you need in this league. I mean, I think that's the difference, right? But young, big leg, like you said, long-term answer. Nick Folk is not going to be your answer much longer. It's at least worth some kind of a discussion. And like you said, to watch closely from here on and see if maybe, who knows, maybe something like that even takes him up another level,
Well, the other part of this, and again, I'm totally looking for, like, you got to find an answer to this long term. Nick Folk's 40 this year. So you're talking about a 40-year-old kicker. He's got this year, maybe next year, and that's probably it for him after that. Now, he is coming off a year as well where he made 96.7% of his field goals last year, including 5 of 6 from 50+. Now, I guess my question
After
there
Jared
would be,
said he can't make a 45-yarder.
Right. Now, my question there would probably be, all right, number one, Titans offense was bad. We know that. Number two, like, how many field goals did they just not attempt last year from 50+ because they knew that, once you get about 52, 53, there's not a whole lot of range there with Folk.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is.
Yeah, I mean, it even can affect your third down decision making if you think about it. Like if you're at like the 40 and it's like 3rd and 12 or something like that, right? When you have a kicker with that kind of leg, it's like get 5 here, we'll get points, as opposed to think about it. You're thinking about let's get a little bit closer, we'll get points, as opposed to okay, we have to try to convert this or else we're punting. I mean, it does affect your mindset for sure. So. It's the Titans have done enough this offseason that you cannot say that this season is just a new era rebuild kind of thing. Like that's not how they've gone about things.
Yeah.
But if you were thinking in those terms, that's where, again, if you believe he can be consistent enough, I don't know that he can, but if you do believe he can get there, this is where you might take the flyer on the young kid. The way that they have gone about things, I think that's why they're choosing. That's why Callahan was so quick to answer that, right? They're choosing the known commodity.
They are. And, in a perfect world, you go with Folk and maybe you continue to develop Narison this year on the practice squad, and that's just what it is. I mean,
if you can do it, that's
you can do it. It's great.
Sure.
I mean, I'm looking at his numbers in college, and they're not great. I mean, he was 18 of 23 his last year at NC State. So 18 of 23. And of course, on the college front here, they're not breaking it down by like where he's kicking it from. So I'd have to go do a deeper dive into that. But, there's nothing it's not like, Roberto Aguayo that the Bucks took in the second round or whatever it was. That was just, some can't miss guy coming out of college, which what an
We
all-time
saw
pick that was.
Yeah, we saw how that turned out.
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm looking at, I'm trying to find Narvison's. I mean, basically, he was, 78%, and so he had a 15 for 21 and 22 at Western. He was a 23 for 29 and 21. So he had a really great start. 13 for 14 in 2020. But yeah, I don't have the distances either. But I mean, it's just hard to get. Can you get that? 78, 80%, right around there. That's great. You got to be better than that, in this league. And some teams don't have that. So that's the question too, is I don't know. There has to be, I know like the Lions, for example, they've switched and they're going with the kid from the XFL, Bates, with the huge leg. There's got to be some teams out there that are kicker needy right now who might take a flyer on him.
Well, Packers got like 5 guys in camp and none of them can make a field goal. So maybe they're one of them. We'll see.
So now we've found your kicker is what you're saying.
Maybe so. 615-737-1025, our phone number. 615-737-1025. It looks like the Titans could have some good news on the injury front. We'll get into that coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Hey, Robby Stanley here. Make sure you select Twin Peaks for your fantasy football draft party this season. Stay cool under pressure with 29-degree draft beers, bites for the whole team, plus a $50 bonus card for the commish and an additional $5 bonus card for every drafter. Call to book your draft party at the Twin Peaks in Cool Springs or Madison location. Visit twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft for more information. That's twinpeaks.com/fantasy draft.
he's progressing through. I think his timeline is kind of what it is, and he should be back around here pretty soon this week sometime, and so we'll kind of see where he's at. But I think the timeline is targeting as he's ready for the opener, but we'll see.
That's Brian Callahan yesterday discussing the status of DeAndre Hopkins. It sounds like Hopkins trending to be ready by the time the Titans take on the Chicago Bears in week 1. So obviously, good news there. Could see him back out there at some point this week. I would almost guarantee he's not going to play on Sunday in the preseason game, nor probably should he, but we'll see. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe he will play.
Hopkins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it sounds like, it kind of sounds like it might be even like that week of game practice might even be like, we'll see you Sunday. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's kind of like the best part of the timeline was like week 1, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I wouldn't think he'd be out here this weekend, but we'll see. I mean, I guess anything's possible. They want to get the starters work.
Well, I'm saying I don't think he will be.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely not.
I would not do it.
Yeah. No. So I think, you would think everybody else, Boyd is also, I guess, a question, but he probably could be able to go. If you go Boyd, who am I forgetting? Oh, well, obviously Ridley, he'll be back out there. You have the backs out there. You have your first team offensive line.
Wiley's in concussion protocol. So,
and essentially, yeah, that's right. Wiley's in
keep an eye on there.
protocol. That's another one. And then you'd have, again, the way Brian Callahan described it was like Burks is Hopkins' backup, right?
Yep.
So they're looking at that way. So I would imagine that you'll see a lot of Burks just with the starters and see how he can do. And then if in Chicago, if Hopkins is not a go, then I expect that to be Burks. Although I still look at 15 and say, well, they might be like, all right, NWI, get in there and save us again.
Do it again. An annual tradition at this point.
That's right.
Also sounds like Chidobe Awuzie will be back on the practice field after the New Orleans game. So Brian Callahan has said multiple times, like with the calf, you always got to be a little bit cautious and maybe extra cautious than you do with some of these other injuries. So sounds like Awuzie could be back on the practice field sometime after this week and after they get done with the New Orleans game. So
yeah,
I guess that would mean he would be trending to play by week 1, but we'll see.
And also, I mean, I guess the L'Jarius Sneed plan is actually just no practice at all.
Yeah.
He practiced a little bit early in camp, and now it's just like, what's up? Hi, guys.
See you in Chicago.
Yeah. So, yeah, that'll be interesting, too. Like, defensively this week, I know Callahan was asked yesterday about Molden and kind of whether he could move around. He said he doesn't see him as a corner. I mean, I still believe he in the nickel spot, especially depending on what package and situation, he could be effective. But, talking about how he's handled it, so it's pretty obvious that we're going to be seeing Hooker Diggs, I think, out there. But, what about this week? Are we going to see how much of that secondary are we going to see? I mean, the good thing about Sneed and Awuzie is, for the most part, you can plug those guys in at corner and, you get the call, you get the coverage. Now you're just better at corner.
Yeah.
You got McCreary out there who I think is going to be really good this year. So, but I feel like at safety might not be a bad thing to have those guys working together a little bit back there and have Diggs and
I agree.
And Hooker back there working in an actual game setting for a couple series.
Yeah, I agree. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see that take place this week and see, kind of what that looks like with those two back there together. I mean, Molden did play rather significantly in this preseason game over the weekend. So, we talk about NWI on the offensive side of the ball. Molden was kind of that guy on the defensive side of the ball. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good point. He did. He was out there a lot. And early on, I'm like, okay, well, we know where he sits in the hierarchy here if he's out there. So, but that's the thing. I mean, I'm very interested to see Diggs and how effective he can be. I mean, Jamal Adams to me is kind of like, we'll see.
Yeah.
Can you give him something here or there? But Diggs, if Diggs can be what Diggs has been most of his career, that's an upgrade for sure. That's a good. Then you'd be like, wow, Kevin Byers sure would look good on this team. But that's the difference in pay.
Are we? Not that this is anything that's, I guess, overly new with Snead, but are we concerned about like the idea of what it's looking like right now in terms of he's either going to have no practice time or very limited practice time at all, and then you're just throwing him out there in a regular season game to be ready to go? Like, I understand he's a really good player, so maybe it is just as simple as, yeah, I'll see you on Sunday when the games count. But I knew that there was going to be a maintenance plan. He's been out there less than I thought heading into camp.
Me too, because early on it was like, okay, it looks like it's about every third day or something like that. And then it just turned into, and again, is that was all along on the calendar, or it's like, okay, we should scale this back because there's some discomfort or sort. I don't know. It seems like it's a lot of time missed. I mean, look, we've seen him play in the NFL. I don't. It's not like he's like gotten overweight or anything. I guess there's something to be said about game shape and all that stuff, but I would expect him to be able to go out there and do what he does. He's a super aggressive, really good cornerback. I think that is one of those. That's one of those positions, especially on the outside. I think where, like, you see if a rookie's really good, he can just go right in and be really good at corner. So it's probably as good a position as there is in terms of just plug in and just go do what you do. But it's going to be obviously a huge part of this season is, can he do what he did last year and after basically no camp, answer the bell week after week and play at that level? If so, great signing.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be – you talk about it. You mentioned it earlier, but a test right away. Yes, there's a rookie quarterback that looks pretty good in the preseason that you're taking on in week one. But there's also DJ Moore and Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze. So, like, right away, you're being thrown a receiving core that you need your best guys at corner out there. You need Snead to match up out there. You need a Woozy available and healthy and ready to go. If all those guys are healthy heading into week one, those three matching up against those three receivers from the Bears is going to be one of the highlights of the week, I think.
Huge. No, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, if the Titans get the best of Awuzie, the best of Snead, and then again, I think McCreary is going to have a really good year. Like, they match up with the Bears better than a lot of teams. They really do. I mean, you go around the league at the quality, if it's what you hope it is, then they can match up with them like I don't think a lot of teams can. All of a sudden, like, again, it's like the strength of the team, the best. I mean, I know Ridley makes the receiving, and Boyd obviously make the receiving group a lot better too, but I think the corner group, if it's what you hope you got when you signed him, is the biggest improvement by far, and that could be the strength of the team. And we just haven't seen it at all. We've been talking about this team all camp, and they just just like, well, just open your Christmas presents on September 8th or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But that's in that game. If all of a sudden you have sticky press coverage when you need it against those guys, and then you're bringing different pressures, and also, Sweat and Simmons are working well, and wow, look at Arden Key. What a great thing it was for them to not have the suspension. I mean, that could be a problem for Caleb Williams.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. More of your thoughts on the Titans coming up next. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. We are broadcasting from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. We'll have Corey Curtis coming up at 8 o'clock. We'll get his takeaways from the sideline on Saturday night, watching the Titans play against the Seahawks. Big day for the Vols on Saturday as well, with a 5-star committing for the class of 2025. I watched that commitment live, and let me tell you, some of these high school kids take a long time to get to the announcement, but we got there on Saturday.
Yeah,
we'll get into that at 7:30.
Yeah, they can be extensive. That's
was,
okay. It's their time.
It's their time.
Yeah,
which it was very nice. We'll get into that coming up at 7:30. In the meantime, taking your thoughts on the Titans, 615-737-1025. Rexrode dealing with no coffee this morning, so really kind of a powerful move by him getting through the first hour here.
Well, I brought one in, but yeah, might not be out.
We got some issues.
Yeah, this suit. Hey, suit, come in here and fix our water, please. Are you up yet?
We got some problems we need you to hear about.
I mean, look, I like my coffee brown, but not necessarily the water that makes the coffee. I think that's too much brown. Okay,
we're not willing to take the chance.
Yeah, please help. Send help. If someone wants to bring us coffee here, I'll tip you kindly.
Yes. Jared from Spring Hill, not very high on the Titans, according to the text line.
He's tweeting through it today.
He is.
He's texting through it.
Says, all I want is hope. Haven't seen much of that on the field yet to provide hope of change or success. I mean, my response to that would be, it's been 2 preseason games, one of which the starters did not play. So I would not freak out too much yet. And by the way, they won both of those games. Not that that really means anything, but there you go.
I mean, let's go back to Jared's. I mean, I hope Brock Bowers is the greatest tight end of all time for your sake. He says, Latham and Skronsky better be so rested that by week 1 we can score more than 16 points. I don't know who's going to score touchdowns for us, but hey, we got 2 high draft picks on our line, though. That sounds like sarcasm to me. Jared from Spring Hill, for those who don't know, is the Brock Bowers.
Really likes Brock Bowers.
Lover. And that's, again, he would have been, I like him as a player and all that. But, like, this team has not been able to block him in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Like, you have to have good offensive linemen. I mean, again, go around the league at the best teams. Well, I hate to use them as an example of this.
Here we go.
But the freaking Detroit Lions, tell me why they're good now and why they weren't before. Do they have some good skills? Sure they do. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown is excellent, and they have good tight end, and they got good backs. But
$50 million quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he is absolutely exhibit A of, does it matter to have a good offensive line or no? He's fine. He's making that because he can stand back there and just pick apart secondaries because he has a great offensive line, and they're all a bunch of high picks who make a bunch of money. It's the way. Jared is the way. Jared from Spring Hill. Let me clarify.
On the running back front, Julius Chestnut Saturday, 13 carries, 45 yards. Hassan Haskins, 5 carries for 13. Jabari Small, who, by the way, is now in concussion protocol, 7 carries for 13 yards. What do you make of that battle, where it stands, and how much do you take away from preseason games in terms of third running back when, as we've discussed, in an actual NFL regular season game, if everybody's healthy, those guys are not carrying the football.
Yeah.
So how do you view all that if you're Brian Callahan?
I think Haskins will be the guy. And I think the other night you saw him play late, I think because Small got hurt, or I don't think he was going to. And I just think it's about the special teams. Look, I'm a Julius Chestnut. I like Julius Chestnut almost as much as Jared from Spring Hill likes Brock Bowers, okay? He's a terrific talent at running back. But it appears that Haskins has more value on special teams, and that's what it's about at this point. And Haskins is fine running the ball. Again, Chestnut, if we're just talking about the position of running back, I think Chestnut's better than him. And Small, to be honest with you, I've kind of dismissed Small in this preseason. He has played well. He's had some nice moments, but now you get into concussion protocol at this point. It's not going to help you. I don't think he was going to be the guy anyway, but obviously to have to miss any time is tough. So I think it's always been between Haskins and Chestnut. And I think it's going to be Haskins.
Well, a couple things on the injury front that, we talked about some good news that the Titans had with Hopkins potentially coming back at some point next week, and Awuzie after the New Orleans game scheduled to get back on the field. All that's good. In terms of guys fighting to make the team, Kyle Phillips, Brian Callahan said yesterday, probably going to be out this week with a hamstring. So I think you could probably all but cross him off the list in terms of making the 53-man roster at this point.
And I don't think he was going to anyway. But
I don't think he was either, but I think now it's obviously in jeopardy. Kearis Jackson got hurt the other night, and he's got a knee bruise. And Callahan was talking about that yesterday, saying, with those things, they can linger for a while, or he could be ready in like 2 days. Nobody really knows. So questionable for Kearis Jackson this week. And then the one from a draft standpoint, Joe, that I think has been unfortunate in fall camp, Cedric Gray has been hurt and has not played in either one of the preseason games at this point. And you look at the depth chart right now and the way that some of these other guys have played, be that a James Williams or a Chance Campbell, who has been arguably the star of the game defensively for them in both preseason games to this point. Not a great time for Cedric Gray to be hurt, and I have no idea when he'll be back, but it just doesn't feel like Cedric Gray is going to give them much this year after being drafted where he was drafted in the 4th round.
Yeah, or at least not early.
Yeah.
And maybe that change, he gets healthy, and through the season, all of a sudden he starts, picking it up, and they can use him and whatever. Who knows? Other people get hurt. I mean, linebackers, interesting. It wasn't great when they had the starters out there, in the first preseason game, but it was such a small, like that first drive, like they just went right down the field on the Titans, right? And those guys were in there. But, right now, I consider them still the starters, and I think Campbell's like the third linebacker. Otis Reese is, he's a guy you hold on to. And James Williams is too, I think. So they actually have a lot of inside linebackers. And right now, Cedric Gray would be 6, right? He'd be 6 among there. So it's just, you invested the pick in him to the point where absolutely he's going to be on the team, and there's no question about that, I don't think. But it is interesting. They have a lot of guys, especially with, like, the James Williams thing is really interesting. He's got to be great on special teams, but I think he'll be on this team, and I think, that's the idea. I mean, how many linebackers are you going to keep? It's kind of an interesting one when you think about the 53, right?
Yeah.
Like, who do you think of that you can sneak on? Maybe they think they can sneak I don't know, a Williams onto the practice squad?
Maybe. I mean,
they probably can.
They probably can. Callahan was talking yesterday about when he and Carthon are making these decisions next week, they're going to do their best to make it more about keeping the best players rather than just having a significant, saying, oh, we've got to have so many numbers here from this position. Or, I think he was asked about the idea of keeping 4 tight ends because they're going to run 11 personnel a lot. And he's like, well, we got some packages for 12 and 13 personnel too. And I don't really mind keeping 4 tight ends. We can find a role for 4 tight ends. And all that's great. And I'm not saying I don't believe him. Now, he also said in the same press conference that, we're going to cut a pretty good player probably at wide receiver because he recognizes, along with everybody else, that right now, whether it's Kinsey, Phillips, Kearis Jackson, whoever, Jaquan Jackson, they're all basically slot guys. Now, he did say Kearis Jackson can play outside and Kinsey can play outside, but they're going to end up cutting a couple of those guys that you could make an argument are part of their best 53, but just the way the positions work out, it doesn't make any sense to keep them at that point.
Right. Yeah. So I guess the way he looks at it is Boyd and Phillips are slot guys, period. So obviously we know Boyd's a starter. And then, Kearis Jackson getting hurt. I thought it was a long shot. He had a great return, and that's his ticket. But I just, the numbers don't work. Kyle Phillips, the numbers don't work. And Kinsey, he dropped at least one that's definitely on him. There was one who was kind of getting interfered with. I tell you what,
he's got a hurt finger though. That finger wasn't hurt. He'd catch it.
Is that right? He has a hurt finger?
I think so.
Oh, all right. Kinsey's he's improved to the point where I actually would not be completely shocked out of my mind if when they cut him, as I do think they will, that someone signs Kinsey. I wouldn't be shocked. I think he's actually improved to that extent, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's going to be It's going to be Jaquan Jackson. He's a 6 guy.
Yeah, Mason Kinsey broke his pinky. But he's going to be back out there practicing this week. Broken pinky's not going to slow him down.
God, that's not great if you're a receiver, is it?
You'd think that would be relatively painful.
Yeah, you'd think that would not be.
I guess it's better than breaking your thumb or your index finger. But yeah, I think it would be problematic
Still
catching football.
Not great. Yeah.
615-737-1025. Our phone number. More your thoughts on the Titans coming up next. Our phone and text lines are driven, as always, by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You're listening to Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Be a hero and save a life this Wednesday at the 11th Annual Williamson County Battle of the Badges Blood Drive. Every 2 seconds, someone is in need of blood. And in the last 11 years, this drive alone has collected over 3,000 units of blood, saving up to 9,000 lives. This drive will be held at John P. Holt Brentwood Library Wednesday from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. 102.5 The Game will be on hand from noon to 2 with swag to give away and a chance to win free concert tickets as well. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode. 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We'll have the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode coming up. Is today Dion Day? Or are we doing something else today?
No. Well, I got Dion in the hopper. Don't worry.
Okay.
But
Just
there's
wondering.
something else today.
All right. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
At 7:45. We'll get into that coming up.
It'll be brilliant.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Got a texter, Blake, on the text line. Not sure if I missed it this morning, but do you think the starter should play half the game against the Saints to get the reps? I don't think they're going to play half the game, but Brian Callahan did say the plan as of now, and I think he was more specifically talking about the offense, so we'll see what that means for the defense, but the offense to get 3-ish series. So we'll see what that means and how long they're out there. I mean, I would assume if they just march up and down the field and score 2 touchdowns on the first 2, probably not going to see him for a third, but we'll see what happens on that front. And then defensively, we know that Snead's not going to play, Owuzi's not going to play, Harold Landry's not going to play, and Jeffrey Simmons is not going to play. So you will have your quote-unquote starting defense play, but those 4 guys will not.
Right. So, as we've discussed today, what could be and on paper should be the strength of your team, or one of the strengths of your team, we're not going to see until they line up against Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
And so in fact, that would be probably 2 of the 3 best things about this team. I would say the top 3 things, okay, would be, and this is all potential, but the Simmons-Sweat combo, the corners, and the receivers.
Yep.
And so, all of it together, we'll see that in Chicago. New Orleans, yeah, I'm with you. It's probably like if they have 3 and outs, they probably come out for a 4th.
Yeah.
Right? It's the other way around. I was watching the Bears game the other day, although right now we were talking about Caleb Williams, 10 straight MVPs on ESPN, but I mean, they were doing nothing early, and so they kept sending them out there. They kept sending that first-team offense out there, and so that's probably what we'll see to some extent Sunday.
Well, like, Brian Callahan talked about this. You play Sunday, and then it's 2 weeks until you're out there again. So the way he phrased it yesterday was they need to play. Like, they need to play live football. And, look, I agree. I would like to see the starting, particularly offensive line, out there again, and to give them as many reps as possible heading into all this. I think it's nice to see Levis out there. You're not going to see Hopkins out there, but can Boyd get back out there this week? Can Levis and Ridley, does that connection come along this week where they can make a few plays? And it'd be nice to see them connect in a game. We saw the one play over the middle in the game against San Francisco, but it would be nice to see them take a shot or 2 down the field in the preseason game against New Orleans and see if you could find something there between Levis and Ridley.
Yeah. You've been trying it. You've been working on it in practice, all that stuff. Maybe you get against an opponent, you see something you like, you take that shot and you hit it, and that's a little bit of a confidence builder for those 2. I mean, they're going to have 2 weeks to keep working on it, in practice and all that stuff. But I think definitely we did not see anything downfield. And again, one of those drives was that 15-yarder, 7 plays, 15 yards in the opener. So more field to work with and maybe a little bit more time. I would hope that they would try something vertical.
Also looks like Stonehouse will punt in this game as well. I mean, not that Brian Callahan wants to spend a whole lot of time punting, but he did say the goal would be to get him 1 or 2 punts on Sunday as they take on New Orleans, just to get the feel of the rush. And he even talked about be nice to get him attempting like a 50-plus yarder, so he's got to hold the ball a little bit and then kind of build things up that way. So Stonehouse, it looks like, will be back on the field, and new special team stuff's going well so far.
It is.
Still, he was tweeting again the other night in all caps. I told you guys, Greg Ackerman stinks.
It's so perfect because now something bad happened on special teams. What was it? They give up a bit of a return
Yes.
in the press box the other night. As soon as that happened, Koharski, okay, man. So that's now the new thing. Anything happens on special teams, just scream his name. He's like Voldemort.
I kinda
now,
like it.
all of a sudden.
Yeah. It's good stuff.
Yeah. Thank you for saving Nashville from bad special teams coaching, Jared and Paul.
Yeah.
Stilly and Paulie working together again.
together
Funny how they
common
share
good.
a brain.
Yeah.
Funny how they share a brain in so many many ways.
Anything else that Jalen? You brought up Jalen Harrell earlier. Made some good plays in the game the other night. I think he's probably made the team at this point, but we'll see what happens on that front. You are talking about 7th round pick, but I think he's pretty clearly established himself as on the roster.
I mean, I think Callahan has basically said as much too, talking about him in the rotation. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see him, whatever work he gets, and like Jalen Harrell compared with Rashad Weaver.
Yeah.
How do they view those two? Who would be your next guy? And now that I think know, we're going to trust Jeffrey Simmons reporting.
We are
that Arden Key's going to be there. Who's the first guy in? Who's the first guy in the rotation after those two? Is it Jalen Harrell? It might be Jalen Harrell.
Maybe. I mean, I would probably still lean Weaver, but I don't know that.
Yeah.
It may be Harrell. We'll see. And what a story that would be if he's kind of the first rotational guy. Let's go to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in T-Dog. T-Dog, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
What's up, fellas? Hey, I'm first time caller to the show, man, and you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thanks. I got a question, man. This is why I hate preseason, because we know it's preseason, and we keep going, man, the offense looks horrible, and we forget, like, they're not showing anything. It's just like vanilla cake, you know what I'm saying? It's like vanilla ice cream. We're not expecting to see anything, for them to kind of show anybody anything, because we want to keep that a secret, but yet we keep expecting, like a breakout season for them in the preseason. And when you win in the preseason, that's not even a good thing, in my book, because you're not showing anything. So I'm just wanting to hear you guys speak to that. Like, they're not showing anything. It's hard to expect anything to look good in the preseason, but yet we're like, oh man, this team's horrible because they're not doing great in the preseason when nobody's showing anything. So I just want to hear y'all speak to that.
Yep.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I mean, that's where I
Preseason
think
is trash.
Preseason is cheeks. Like, it's awful. I cannot stand it. That's where I think there is value in the joint practices. Like that, I think you're going up against obviously different looks. It's not like what Seattle's going to run going up before it. So that's where I think there is some value in the joint practices of, number one, your starters being out there, and number two, you are going up against some looks that you're not going to know. I mean, you're not bringing the house or anything. It's not like you're hitting the quarterback. We talked about that, but you are going up against some different unscouted looks. And, Nick Holtz was on talking about that with Jason Big Joe last week too. Like, there's pretty good value in that. But yeah, the preseason game, I totally agree. Like, it's about, you can get value out of timing.
Yeah.
You can get value, working on quarterback, wide receiver relationships and where to be and all that stuff. But it's not like you're game planning for it.
Right. It's not a plan. It's not game plans on either side. It's you're trying to see things and even in different coaches. Well, it used to be really like the fourth preseason game really used to be, okay, we got 6 roster decisions, 3 roster decisions. That's what this is for. Other than that, we're just trying to get through this crap.
Yes.
And
Which,
so
thank God that's gone.
Yeah. So when you cut down to 3, like I do think there's a little bit, we are kind of swinging the pendulum back a little bit toward.
Imagine if we had 2 of these left.
Yeah. Well, it's going to get to 2 total, and once the league goes to 18 games, which is inevitable, which is absolutely happening. But the only thing about preseason games, like you have tackling to the ground, so your quarterback's live, and you have, there's still blocking that matters, right? Like if you're on an island against a pass rusher, okay, well, you're looking at a tackle. Like when the Titans played, it was worth, I think, going back and watching the offensive linemen and how they did with their assignments and how picking up twists and, just on an island and having to block your guys. Stuff like that. But yes, like the game plan aspect, like if Brian Callahan is about to stamp himself as the best play caller in the NFL and he and Holtz are going to, just be wizards out there, we would have no idea right now.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Like trying to take any play calling stuff away from this, in the preseason is a fool's errand. Like, you can't do that.
And what is, as much as it's Jimmy's and Joe's over anything else, I mean, all this whole Shanahan McVay tree, I mean, a lot of it is about that too. It's about inventive, creative play calling and timing things and stacking things and holding something back and throwing curveballs at people.
We'll continue to take your thoughts on the Titans. Got a couple phone calls to get to. We'll do that coming up. Take your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We will also get to a big day on Saturday for the Vols as well. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We will have another spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League to give away later today. So make sure you tune in for that.
Who's our first, by the way? You guys remember?
I do.
Yeah, we gotta get know everybody on a first name basis.
Our first spot. Well, we've got 6 spots already spoken for. Our first one the other day was Jack.
Jack. Welcome, Jack. Welcome again, Jack.
Welcome, Jack.
Who's next?
We'll have another spot in the 8 o'clock hour. So make sure you're tuned in for that. 615-737-1025. Let's go to our 1025 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Adam in Portland. Adam, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, Robby, man. So I jumped in kind of late, man. Just dropped the kids off. So have you guys addressed this awesome kicker?
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Dude. All right, so I've got it's like Brett Kern, man. You got to rip him off like a Band-Aid, man. I want this kicker. Like, I don't know if it's Nick Folk's going to turn, 56, 57 this season. So, like, you got the young one with a young leg, and I'm just excited about it. And this is the one thing that I feel like, because you guys, I hear you on the preseason thing. You might as well call it the Jamboree. I think that would make people feel a little bit better about what it actually is. But, like, the kicker, that's the same thing. Like, that's game action for a kicker, and I think that's as, like, legit as you can get. So, I mean, I guess the stakes aren't as high, but for that guy it is, right? Like, this is his life. And he's hitting that kick, so I would figure out a way to keep that kicker around me. And I'm afraid we're going to lose him. If he's hitting a kick like that, we're probably going to lose him. So I would figure out a way to get that guy.
Yep, thanks for the call. I mean, Narison looked great on Saturday night. Now, one thing I would wonder, like, how in danger are they of actually losing him? Because we say that about a lot of guys, right? Like, oh, well, so-and-so's not going to make it through. And then most years, so-and-so makes it through on the practice squad. So, like, how in danger would they actually be of losing him if they make the decision to keep Folk, which, by the way, it looks like they're going to. Like Brian Callahan said, he's their kicker.
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know team for team. You've mentioned the Packers aren't.
They definitely need
in great shape. There are always, I feel like, at least 3 or 4 teams that aren't feeling great about their kicking situation. But again, so if they sign him away, that means they're signing him to the active roster, right?
Yep.
So how many teams are – I understand that was a tremendously impressive 59-yarder. Then he hits the other one, but is he consistent enough?
Right.
I don't know that. I really don't. And I've been trying to figure out, like, is Jimmy
Wyatt got this thing tracked out there?
Yeah, does Jimmy have, like, numbers on Narvison? It probably does somewhere. I can't sit here and say I have a feel for that. His college numbers are good, around 78% overall. He was 18 for 23 at NC State last year. Someone actually texted us. I guess he actually missed a couple between 30 and 39. Are you going to –
wind was blowing.
Yeah, who knows? Are you going to consistently hit that kick every time? Is there a team out there that's actually going to be like, yes, he is our kicker now?
Right.
I think you might. The Titans are going to cut him. I don't think there's any question. If they do believe he's consistent, if they do believe that he has everything you need, then I don't care that Nick Folk has $3.5 million guaranteed. Do it. But Brian Callahan's pretty quick answer the other night.
Yep.
Was not ambiguous to me. So I think they have a decent chance of sneaking him on the practice squad.
Let's go back to our 1025 The Game phone line. Welcome in Zenny. Zenny, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning, guys. So one thing I was really thinking about after this last preseason game was Brian Callahan and how when we first hired him, everybody criticized us because he never called plays. But after 2 preseason games, I think he's been a great play caller, and I was just wanting to see what you guys thought about it as well.
Yep, thanks for the call. I mean, I still think, again, I don't know how much you take away from the preseason, but I do think early in the season that's going to be maybe not as big of a story as anything else, but a pretty big one for the Titans. Like in actual regular season games, what does that look like for Brian Callahan? How much of a flow can he get in? Does he have a good feel for when to call certain plays, when not to? We've spent an inordinate amount of time the last 2-3 years around here talking about play calling. And a lot of that, I think, is directly traced back to their inability to block.
Yep.
Some of it is play calling. Like there were some bad moments from Todd Downing and Tim Kelly. But, how much early in the season is it a feeling out process for Brian Callahan doing that in an actual regular season game? Like everything we've seen from Callahan to this point leads me to believe he's probably going to be pretty good at it, but we'll have to wait and see once the regular season comes around.
Yeah, I I take nothing from the preseason. They're just running some basic plays, So we don't know. But as far as the caller saying,
I did enjoy the 3rd and 11 screen call the other night that picked up like 15 or whatever it did. Good stuff.
I like the little QB draw with Malik Wilson, right? But you're talking about criticism. I don't remember a ton of criticism. Basically, I think what a lot of people were saying, we were talking about, is that this has been working in the NFL. It's the non-play calling OC for the really successful team who's part of that tree in some way, who then goes on to be a head coach, who's a play caller, who's a quarterback guru.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so they're not all going to work, but the formula for Callahan's career path is the hot thing in the NFL, So we'll see if he's another one who works out well. I promise you that if J.C. Latham is ready to play left tackle in this league, and if they're okay on the right side, right and everything, and that offensive line takes a big step forward, he's going to look a lot smarter as a play caller. I promise you. But of course it matters.
Big day for the Vols on Saturday on the recruiting front. David Sanders, a 5-star offensive tackle from the state of North Carolina, committing to Tennessee. It was down to Georgia, Nebraska, Ohio State, and Tennessee. And Tennessee gets the win and the commitment from David Sanders. And he has been kind of rumored to be going there for a while now at this point. They identified him very early and have had a really good relationship with him in the recruiting process. I watched him do it live the other day, and a very nice speech from David Sanders. But depending on where you look, either the number 3 overall prospect in the class of 2025, some people have him at number 4, but one of the top offensive linemen in the class, and now another 5-star recruit coming in for Josh Heupel. So for 2025 right now, here is the recruiting rankings according to 24/7 Sports. Ohio State at 1, Bama at 2, LSU 3, Georgia 4, Auburn 5, Tennessee at number 6 after the commitment of David Sanders. Pretty big deal for the Vols on Saturday to get David Sanders in there.
It's a huge deal. Also, I love whenever you get into, nationally they're elite, but it's like, they're still 5th in the SEC.
I know.
Oh, man, what a neighborhood. But, yeah, actually 24/7 Sports Composite has him as the number 2 overall player in the class of 25. So it's a big deal. And we've talked about the 2 areas where, and I think, next year is really going to be the test, right? You're going to lose some guys, and next year that offensive line, I'm not saying he's going to be key as a true freshman. Maybe he will be. But next year, a bunch of these redshirt freshmen who are in the 2s right now are going to start having to play. So how are they doing in terms of offensive line, recruiting, development? If you get this guy, you're doing pretty well. I mean, this is like everyone agrees on this guy. And when you beat out, like Georgia, Ohio State wanted this guy. Also, when you beat them out, because I wrote about this on Saturday, and then, of course, in the comments, it's like, the money. It's like, do you think, Georgia fan or Ohio State fan, that your school wasn't offering some NIL on this one?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if you want to tell yourself the Vols went way over what your collectives were willing to pay, coaches were willing to pay, okay, you can tell yourself that. But look, this is a big deal. Darnell Wright going to the NFL. I've never really bought the idea that like offensive linemen in this offense are at a disadvantage. The quarterback thing, I get, like and he's still recruiting quarterbacks pretty well, but I get it. Like that's got to be dealt with. By the way, Hendon Hooker, awfully
pretty
good the other day. He's going to be their QB2. He's a football player. He's a good football player. So, but yeah, the offense, I mean, you can go to Tennessee. Is it Georgia and Ohio State in terms of tradition recently? Not at all. Is it Georgia, Ohio State in terms of NFL development? Not right now, but I think people can see where things are going. And look, I think Heupel's also a good recruiter, so it's a huge deal for them. They've been crushing it in North Carolina in particular.
They have.
This kid also, by the way, is a protege of Grant Williams. How about that?
I saw that. Grant Williams, which
that
was hilarious because there was, he was doing his big recruiting announcement, and there was a picture that came out that he took with Grant Williams before it. And everybody was like, gee, I wonder where he's going.
Right.
That's where he ended up. with Tennessee. So there you go. I mean, I guess
Good luck at Georgia, buddy.
I guess he could have taken a picture with Grant Williams and not gone to Tennessee.
He can still be friends with Grant Williams. That would have gone somewhere else.
That was a lot of the talk on Vol Twitter the other day. I wonder where he's going to go.
Yeah,
Grant Williams is there.
Well, you and I talked about it about a week ago.
Yeah.
That apparently everyone knew that he was going to Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's a huge win for Tennessee, and they've got to be better. They got to have their own players there. Again, their own players. You got to go this year. The portal is why they will be good in the offensive line if they are.
Yep.
And of course, you're still going to do that, but you got to have your own high school recruited guys, and we're going to see there and in the secondary how they do move forward. This year is the year the secondary has to start paying off with their own recruits.
Yep, and everything's going really well on the recruiting trail for them. And now we're about 2 weeks away from seeing how it goes on the field. So that's going to be, I mean, can they keep the class together that they've got right now? And then for 2026, like if you have a great year this year, you would think that would, number one, help you keep the guys you got. Number two, maybe add to that a little bit with some of the quarterbacks that they're recruiting. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode is coming up next. Tune into the Chase and Big Joe show from 9 to 11 a.m. for your chance to win tickets to see Sammy Hagar at Bridgestone Arena on August the 28th. Contest presented by Green Trees. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
I mean, look, I like my coffee brown, but not necessarily the water that makes the coffee. I think that's too much brown. Okay? Send help. If someone wants to bring us coffee here, I'll tip you kindly. Seemed like they were really rocking it out, though. Freaking ear herpes. Can't get rid of them.
A tough draw on that one. It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode.
God.
Check it out every morning here on the program. Joe Rexrode's Rant of the day. No brown water. Was not willing to go with the brown water today. That's where the line is drawn. Not putting it in the coffee.
I completely
not
forget.
the alcoholic brown water.
Yeah, I was gonna say brown. Yeah, that's I like that. But we've got
literal brown water.
Yeah, the brown water that's coming out of the sink here. No one has brought us coffee. No one.
Not one person.
Not one person. I thought maybe someone would be like just driving by. They might bring us some, but also I totally forgot saying ear herpes. Sorry,
I didn't.
Well, okay.
Interested to see where you go from
I
here.
really hate how this is a microphone and then it's recorded and whatnot. But actually the brown water thing works out well. I want to, today I want to talk, I guess, for a little bit about a person without specifying the person. Okay. And really, this is a big, the coffee thing, the gross coffee that's going to make anybody sick who has a cup from here is fitting because I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrition.
Okay.
Because I'm at a little bit of a loss. Unnamed, unspecified person. Okay. I mean, look, I'm not the healthiest person that you know. Okay. Like
you're up there.
Well, yeah. Like give me a bacon double cheeseburger, give me some fry. I mean, but I also still recognize, like, I try to eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, try to buy organic stuff. I am a lot more chicken, and white meat, chicken and fish than red meat, especially since the gout started to happen, about 5 years ago.
That'll change it.
Yep. But I have this person. Let's see. I mean, it's almost like Elf. It's not quite, but it's like the 5 food groups are chicken tenders, fries, Reese's cups, Twizzlers. I just, as a parent, I feel like as a person in this person's life, I feel like I'm failing because I just cannot. It's just and you guys may be different, but my generation, I mean, look, my mom, she made a lot of healthy meals and stuff like that, but man, the process, the pop and the chips and all this stuff, and it's really hard. So I'm really kind of reaching out for help from people in terms of what can I do for an unspecified, unnamed person. If you're trying to get that person to eat healthier, where can I turn,
Yeah.
Because it's a constant argument. It's just a constant argument. No, listen, you can't just have Dr. Pepper. You can't Dr. Pepper, Cheetos.
I don't know, man.
And gummy bears is not a meal. Okay.
They interviewed this lady one time that was 106. And they were like, hey, so what's the secret to living as long as you lived? And she said, have Dr. Pepper every day. That's
really?
what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what she said. I don't know if that's backed in science, but that's what she said.
I mean, I love some Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. But of all the things that I need to stop drinking pop, and I drink a lot of diet pop, and that's bad too. Yeah. I mean, it's
doing it right now.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I'm at least drinking this fine
I was going to get
grapefruit
coffee,
bubbly here. Yeah.
I got derailed.
Yeah. We're not drinking coffee. Drinking stuff that's in a can that doesn't come out of a sink.
That quickly went by the wayside when a report came back.
I think we should have a staff clean out I
agree.
The pipes.
The pipe?
Clean the pipes out. Someone texting me, gout is mental. No, it is not mental. I promise you, it is not me. Probably. Keith says Joe Rexrode.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Like, I understand. Like, okay, yesterday, for example, let's see. Okay, we got Mexican food. There was Dr. Pepper also. I had a Diet Coke. All right, fine. But like for dinner, like steak tips with noodles with peas.
Yeah.
It's not bad, right?
No, that's good.
Yeah. So like we're trying. Like I get it, and I still eat a lot of healthy stuff, but I have this person who it's a very, very confined list of foods that this person will touch.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling. So if anybody out there can help, I've got Scott says, Joe, I feel like you're talking about my 10-year-old son. It's exactly him. I've been searching for the same answers. Drives me crazy. Amazingly, my child is very thin and athletic too. Funny you bring that up, Scott, because this person is extremely fit and is very athletic and really, it's kind of like one of those things where if you really want to put effort into a particular athletic endeavor, you could probably be really good about it,
Yeah.
But no, it's the same thing. And that's the thing. Like, you don't see the consequences. I did not put on a pound. I could not put on a pound, which I know is funny, until I got to college.
That's the thing.
I was 6'3", 165 coming out of high school. I lifted, I did protein shakes, I did all this stuff. I could not put any weight on. And I ate crap. I mean, I ate a lot of good stuff too. Again, my mom made sure we ate a lot of good stuff, but I had a lot of crap. I mean, I just ate. I had bags, I had Oreos, whatever. I mean, I would go nuts on that stuff, and it didn't matter. Eventually, I think it catches up with you.
Well, yes, and that's why I'm kind of torn on this issue. Like, we had intern Ryan in the other day, and he was talking about how he can eat whatever he wants and not gain any weight. And I was like, well, enjoy that, my friend, because at some point that changes quickly. Like, I have been eating like I'm 17 years old my entire life. And recently I looked at the scale and said, good Lord, dude, it's time to make some changes. And just by eating better, I've lost 15 pounds in like a month.
Wow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're still pretty young like that's all levels, right? Like teenagers can't do anything.
Yeah.
You in your early 30s, you can do that. You get to this, you got to be like, seriously, you got to be. But this isn't about me. I have my own issues, and that's fine. I'm working on it. Also, totally unrelated to this conversation. Happy 14th birthday, Caroline Rexrode.
Yes.
I love you very much.
Yes.
And happy birthday to her grandmother, my mother-in-law. They share the same birthday. And yesterday was Caroline's last day as a 13-year-old. It was her first day as a Sunday school teacher. I'm very, very proud of her. She's a fantastic kid. I can't say anything but positive things about her when I name her.
Yes.
We just have to, with some people who will remain nameless, we just have to work a little bit on finding healthy alternatives.
I mean, I feel like we can do this.
There you go.
I mean, Jake in Greenbrier says, rant about whatever you want, but watch your mouth when you're talking about Diet Coke. It's from Jake in Greenbrier.
Oh, hey, man. I mean, I should own stock in it, okay? Although I've kind of gone more to Coke Zero.
I might actually own stock in it.
I love the picture of Will Smith about to go slap Chris Rock. An
underrated moment in our society.
Yes, yeah. I've actually kind of gone more to Coke Zero. Josh in Kentucky, all kids are picky eaters. My daughter would only eat mac and cheese and donuts for 2 years. Just be glad they're eating chicken and fries. My kid would eat chicken. Let's
clarify here, Josh. Was your daughter eating mac and cheese and donuts together? Because that's an interesting combo. Or was this like separate?
And what kind of donuts?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of what donut would pair best with mac and cheese. What would be the best pairing? Donut, mac and cheese pairing.
I don't know. I don't know that one of those exists.
Maybe like the maple bacon bar?
Maybe.
I mean, have you ever had bacon and mac and cheese?
Yeah.
See, this is why I have issues, okay?
The gout's flaring up as we speak. 615-737-1025. If you have nutritional advice for Rexrode and an unnamed person, hit up our text line. And hopefully we can read the text before it literally disappears, which all of mine are doing right now. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. Corey Curtis will be with us next. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. And we go to our 102.5 The Game phone line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in our friend Corey Curtis from News 2. Brought to you by Tennessee Men's Clinic. Corey, good morning. How are you?
I am delightful. How are you?
We're delightful as well. Appreciate you taking time to be with us this morning. Corey, according to Titan Insider Jeffrey Simmons, it looks like Arden Key is not going to be suspended for 6 games and will be available for the Titans to begin the season. How big of a deal is this for the Titans, and what do you make of how this whole thing has gone down with Arden Key?
It's pretty funny because when Jeff took the field Saturday and I was on the sideline, I said, hey, do you want to do this instead because you've got much better information than I do? But no, it was, I mean, look, is Arden Key like, an electric superstar? No, but they're not exactly deep at that position. And, they need him. And, they were already thin and they were going to be very thin at that spot without him. So it's interesting. And it's got to be a bit of a relief. I heard some people arguing whether, Paul Kaharski's report was accurate or not, or blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he won his appeal. So he was going to be suspended. Okay. So the report was accurate. There would be no appeal if he wasn't going to be punished. So there really shouldn't be, an argument there. Interested to hear, how he won, because that doesn't happen very often. But it's a big relief for the team. They need those snaps from him. They've got some other guys, but not guys that you would call starters yet.
Now, screw that, man. If Kuharsk can't predict the entire future and every report he writes, then just don't write. Don't write anymore. I don't care. No, that's really an all-time dumb discussion, actually. But
yeah,
and
well,
yet there it was.
Yeah.
There it was,
X,
all for us to see on X. Yeah. X marks the spot.
Yeah.
So you asked a question, Corey, about Braden Narison, and the answer was pretty quick and pretty clear.
Definitive, yeah.
But, I mean, we've been talking about today, like, my whole thing with Narison is how consistent is he? I mean, I don't know. Do you have any sense? I don't have any sense. No, I haven't watched him at all. I
have no idea. I'm going to tell you too that I don't watch a lot of special teams at practice, especially, will I watch to see if the ball goes through? Yeah. But it's been mostly Nick Folk that I see at practice, and Nick's pretty automatic. And that's the way I phrased my question. I said, look, Nick's automatic, but 59 is 59. It's like 7 feet. You can't teach 7 feet. It's like 4.2 speed. You can't teach 4.2 speed. And that was 59 good from 65. And I feel like this is a lot like the Ryan Stonehouse situation of a couple of years ago, where you had an aging punter and all of a sudden you've got this guy unleashing this cannon and you're like, well, shoot, if we cut him, he's going to be gone. And so, I think the Titans are kind of looking at that again. Does that mean Narison will get picked up by somebody? I don't know that that's automatic. I don't know.
That's my next question. It's like, are they safe? I'm sure they'd love to, because the difference is Stonehouse, we saw it over and over and over again. It was like, that's what he is. He is a boomer. Whereas Narison kicked a 59-yarder in a preseason game. Awesome. But could they sneak him on the practice squad?
Yeah. And, I'm big. When I do watch the kickers, I'm big into watching the ball rotation. You want guys, where the ball goes end over end every time, because that's when their flight paths are true, is when they hit it. And so I'd have to watch that to see if he's consistently with that. But he knew it was good as soon as he hit it. I knew it was good as soon as he hit it. And then he had the stones to come out and kick a 45-yarder to win the game. I know it's a preseason game, but he knows what's on the line. It's bigger than a preseason game for that kid. And he came out there and he drilled it. And look, I'm not saying, cut Nick Folk and keep Braden Narison. I'm just saying, I don't think it's as simple as, Nick's the kicker. I think you've got to look at it and you've really got to think about this because, I know Nick missed one kick last year, and that is an amazing value. It really, really is. But, if you think he can be your kicker for the next 10 years, then I think that's a discussion.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate always Brian Callahan's honesty. I mean, shocking honesty at times. And, loved, Nick Folk had to love that answer. He's got his back. And Nick hasn't done anything to lose the job. I saw somebody posted, that Nick's 52-yarder or whatever got tipped week 1. Well, that's because Nick has to kick the ball lower to get it 52 yards. That kid launched it from 59.
Corey, what did you make of Malik Willis and Mason Rudolph on Saturday night?
Well, I mean, Malik has been improved, and I think he was improved. I think he was 12 of 16, right? Yep. So he's completing 75% of his passes. Continues, to look more comfortable back there. So, I wouldn't call it an electric performance, but I thought he was solid. I thought he was smart. He didn't make glaring mistakes. He had a couple of misses. I know he missed. Was it Nick? He missed over the middle for a big one.
Yes.
Yeah. Which happens occasionally, but you'd like to see that ball complete. And, I thought Mason looked really under control and confident. And, he put some points on the board. He put the touchdown on the board, and then got the game winner. And so I thought Mason didn't do anything to hurt himself.
So Brian Callahan is going to explain, Corey, the difference in positions, right, between Burks and NWI.
Oh yeah.
But I still feel like, I guess I would be a little bit concerned about Treylon Burks' ability to stay healthy, and you don't want to get him hurt in the preseason. But I still have to take the other night as a little bit of a nod toward Burks as a guy who, one, is probably going to be getting most of those snaps if Hopkins can't go, and as a guy they view as, if you have to order these guys, as wide receiver 4, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, with Hopkins out, he's been wide receiver 3. So he's been a starter with Hopkins out. And that's what this game came down to, with whether they played or not, was, how many snaps they took in those 2 days of practice against the Seahawks, because they got a game's worth of reps in those 2 games. And they had guys who were pretty beat up and pretty sore. Not to say that the backups weren't beat up and sore as well, but the ones got the bulk of the work. And so, that's why they sat those guys down, was because they'd had all this work. I mean, did Seattle play any starters? I mean, I saw Tyrell Dodson, but I don't know how many starters, they threw out there. And I don't think many people throw many starters out after joint practices. But so for this last week, Burks was a starter, and, NWI is extremely versatile, is extremely valuable. And I don't think him being on the team is a question right now. So if that's part of it, I wouldn't be worried about it.
Corey, is there any concern from your part that the first time it looks like we're going to see their starting 3 at corner is going to be week 1 against Chicago? I mean, Snead is basically just not practiced. We know Woozy has been hurt, and he'll be back at some point after the New Orleans game. But is there any concern that that's the first time we're going to see those guys together, is week 1 when the games count?
Well, I mean, I think there's always, there's mystery to it. So, yeah. And am I worried about Woozier and Snead, being good corners? No, but they've all got to communicate together for the first time at game speed. They've got to work together for the first time at game speed. And, Woozier has missed a lot of practice now. And so, you'd like to see those guys on the practice field. And I don't know if you guys have watched the preseason. The Bears offense looks like they may actually score some points this year.
Oh, that's where I was going next. You sound hopeful. I hope they're not ready for the greatest player of all time to be Caleb Williams.
Yeah. The new monsters of the Midway, the other side of the ball. No, look, I mean, we've talked about what the Bears have added, with DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. They've got players over there, so it won't be a gimme, week one, and so there are. And you look at their schedule. There's not many. I mean, there's a lot of good quarterbacks and a lot of good receivers on there.
Yep.
So what I'd like to, you know what, I'd like to see those guys practicing together. All the way leading up to it. Whether I see them in a game or not, I'm not panicking about so much. But I'd like to see them have a couple solid weeks of practice together. Yeah, we're talking about practice.
Amen. We are. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Your reaction to what Corey Curtis just had to say. Corey, thanks as always for being with us. You looked great on TV on Saturday night on the sideline, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks for being with us.
By the way, Tavondre Sweat was tremendous on the sideline.
Yes.
He was fantastic to interview. And I will say, talking to him in person, he looks great. I mean, he's lost weight. I don't know how much, but he's lost a bunch of weight. He looks really, really good.
Incoming breakout performance.
Good
from
news
Tavondre
for the
Sweat.
Titans.
That's
Watch out, Caleb.
Thank you, Corey.
Later.
Corey Curtis from News 2, our guest on Robby and Rexrode. He even had the Will Levis interview Saturday night.
How was that?
Brought up the cologne. It was good.
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Yeah.
I saw. Yeah, like Levis had like his shades on. And
he
stuff
did have
like
shades
that.
on.
Yeah,
I was like, wow, getting after it.
Once you start hawking the the Mayo cologne,
style's important.
That's right.
615-737-1025. Your reaction to what Corey Curtis had to say. Your thoughts on the Titans. We'll get back into Arden Key, his availability for week 1 against the Bears. And we also have a spot to give away upcoming this hour in our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. Appreciate Corey Curtis for being with us in the last segment, taking your thoughts on the Titans on our phone and text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We have 5 more spots, Joe Rexrode, to give away for our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. Jack was our winner last week, so we now have Jack, our defending champion, Corey from Clarksville from last season, Joe Rexrode, Brennan Rexrode, Keyser, myself, and Paul Kuharski in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. 5 more spots available to you this week, and we're giving away one of those right now. Now, our text line, quite frankly, a little wonky today. Text disappearing, some showing up from July the 28th.
It's really weird.
We don't really know what's going on with it. So with that in mind, we normally do our trivia question answers via text. We're calling today. The first person to call in and tell Nick Keyser the correct answer to this trivia question will win the next spot in our Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League.
We're going old school.
We've talked a lot about kicker today. A lot of kicking conversation that we've had today. The Tennessee Titans had an unlikely hero in January of 2021 that came in a nice back and forth game between the Titans and the Houston Texans. And the Titans won the division for the first time since 2008, thanks to the kick of this man. If you can name the kicker who won the Titans of the division in, I guess technically the 2020 season, but 2021 is when this kick took place against Houston. The first person to call in and correctly guess the answer will win a spot in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. And if you've listened to this show, you better remember this guy's name.
Oh, yeah. It was set up by a Tannehill to A.J. Brown deep shot.
It was.
I think
Great
it was
throw,
first
too.
Down. Yeah, just right after the
Tannehill never
Deshaun
made any
Watson
plays,
and the
but that was a
Texans.
good play.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. No, but maybe the only throw he completed, if I can recall correctly. Well, here.
The lines are loaded already. And Keyser's just letting the phone ring. Just doing whatever. He's just building anticipation. He's just letting the phone ring. What? So you going to answer the phone? Okay, just check it.
Hi. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Thank you for calling.
What are you doing?
See, we try to go old school on some stuff, Hey, wait, a couple. So now there's some texts that are showing up, but again, we already called. It's not the text line, guys. It is good to see the text line. Totally okay. So it's back working again. Good to know.
Good to know.
It can function for the rest of the show. Hopefully.
We did have a guess for Adam Vinatieri on the text line, which I can tell you is not correct.
Yes, that's not. Yeah, a lot of people, and I'm sorry for those of you who said I can't call him at work. Billy from Bellevue,
We'll have the text line hopefully back fully operational tomorrow.
Along with
got a lot of people calling in right now.
Water that can be consumed from the tap.
Too. We'll get the winner of this when Keyser finds one. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Interesting thoughts from Corey there on the current kicker position with Nick Folk. Sounds like Corey's not shutting the door in terms of the Titans maybe needing to take a long, hard look at Braden Narison at the kicking spot if they feel like he can be their kicker for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
We need the Jimmy Wyatt kicking chart.
Look, I think I'm with Corey. It's just exactly what's the consistency level, What is the consistency level with Narvison? It would have to be it'd have to be pretty high, It'd have to be pretty high. But I think there is a chance that they could possibly sneak him onto the practice squad. Is this real with Askarov? Is this actually real?
Looks like it. We'll get to that here in just a minute.
Okay. Stuff is happening, folks. Stuff is happening.
Stuff is happening.
Which, by the way, real quick on that. Alex Doherty the other night he's been doing some Titan stuff, and he had someone on Facebook who was like, "I got breaking news for you that it's Askarov is not going to come." And I was like, "Oh wow,
Fred's Facebook
broken news."
Just getting after it again. We'll get into that here in just a few minutes. How big a deal is it in your mind that Arden Key ready to go and available for game one? Apparently, according to new Titans insider Jeffrey Simmons, has won his appeal as it relates to the 6-game suspension for PEDs.
Well, it's a big deal because it's Harold Landry and then Rashad Weaver or Jalen Harrell, I guess, on the other side. And now you got a guy who has sacked some quarterbacks in this league, who it's good. I think it got maybe a little overplayed on how big of a deal. Like, oh my God, huge news. It's like they'd definitely rather have him than not. The whole thing is weird too. I'm just starting to wonder if this is a conspiracy between Key and Kuharsk, just to, like there never was a suspension.
Maybe.
Just creating
maybe some behind the scenes stuff going on.
Creating fake news, so to speak.
Maybe so.
I'm just kidding. But it is a weird situation. Like the NFL just never said anything.
Yeah, that's really weird
about here. But it's good. It's good for the Titans for sure.
I did enjoy the people after that all came out, just like tagging Kuharski in tweets, like, "You idiot!
Yeah,
you moron! Can't you see that he's not getting suspended now? How do you feel about your report, you moron?"
Is that really what people were saying?
Oh yeah.
Like if you are a person who did that, you know that you're the moron, right? You probably don't know, but I'm telling you right now.
As Corey said,
if you're listening, you're the moron.
In order to win the appeal,
yeah,
there has to be something to appeal. So that means that
I love ripping Kuharski, okay? I'm here for any way that we can get after Kuharski, but like, what are we doing here, guys?
Oh, man. That was pretty good stuff on the old twitter.com the other night.
Do we have a winner?
Do we have a winner?
Nick Keyser? Do we have someone?
Daniel is apparently our winner.
Okay, Daniel.
Who is correctly
welcome to the league, Daniel.
Correctly identified Sam Sloman, Titans legend, as the kicker who kicked it through the uprights. And if memory serves me correctly, I think it went off the upright, but it went in 41-38 for the Titans. They won the division for the first time since 2008.
It did, and he celebrated. I think the first text that I saw said Sam Slowman with a W. Would we have counted that?
Sure.
Yeah. But it's pretty funny. So congratulations, Daniel.
Congratulations to Daniel.
Another good question by you.
We will have 4 more spots to give away this week in the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. So don't worry. We will get back to the text line tomorrow. We'll have things hopefully functional tomorrow on the program.
Drinkable water, readable text.
Yes, 615-737-1025. Apparently, there is a little bit of breaking news on the Yaroslav Askarov front. We'll get into that next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, the game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Monday morning. We have controversy on the text line. We were mad at Keyser.
What happened in there, Keyser? Dennis says that he had the answer, and that he's not alone. Many people texting, many texts saying they called in. What
Some
you
of
do
which
to these
we
people?
can see, some of which we cannot on our text line.
What happened?
Well, if you can text in, sorry about that issue. But if I am on the phones and if I'm working them, and it goes over a certain period of time, and I try to pick up the phone, the line drops because they've been on the line for X amount of time. I don't know how long it is. It's about probably 45 seconds ish.
Okay.
But when you're on there, you've got to be quick enough. Clearly, I was not. I apologize. There is a little bit of that. But
the more you know.
I will say, you've got 4 more chances. You got a couple more days. You should be fine. Maybe our text line's going to be working tomorrow a little bit more frequent, but that's okay. So,
okay,
stick with us.
All right. I think
I don't want Keyser making the masses mad. So
yeah, I mean, we got some people who are pretty fired up, man. I'm just saying.
It's fantasy football.
First off, don't approach it with that attitude. You'll get kicked out of the league. This is the Robby and Rexrode Fantasy Football League. It's
life and death, man. Come on.
I had a top 5 finish. I'll be all right.
Oh, did you?
Like 12 teams in the league. So
you're in the top 42%. Congrats. Where'd you finish? Who won
last
this year?
Not very good.
Coy won it, right?
Coy won.
Yeah. My team was okay, right?
We have had 3 leagues. The champion the first year was me. The second year was Brennan. And the third year was Coy.
Yeah. Good job.
None of those people are named Joe Rexrode.
Yeah, that's true. But was I top 5? How many top 5s?
You were good.
Yeah, I think I've been pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Jack says, this league is serious. Nick seems cavalier.
Yeah.
It's a great word.
Hanging the phone up. Saying it's not a big deal. Fantasy football. Gonna have a talk with Nick after the show. No doubt about that.
My goodness.
One person working the phones must be Barry Trotz, though.
Look at you. Look at
Nick.
the transition. Nick trying to get the heat off himself.
Nick taking the heat away from himself.
Hey, thank you, Yaroslav.
Moving it to Yaroslav Askarov. Kevin Weeks, of course, of ESPN, putting it out there. Some breaking news this morning that Askarov apparently has informed the Predators that he's not going to report to Milwaukee, their AHL team, and that he has requested a trade. So obviously, the Predators signed UC Saros to an 8-year deal. We talked in the immediate aftermath of that, the Instagram post that Askarov had sitting on a beach somewhere and just says, things happen for a reason. Things happen for a reason. In distant thought, Yaroslav Askarov. And now, according to Kevin Weeks, he has told the Predators that he's not showing up to Milwaukee and that he wants to be traded. Joe, your thoughts on Yaroslav Askarov's apparent trade request to the Nashville Predators?
How long do we get to Rip Willie?
Well, you can go right now if you want to.
What? So the argument with Willie was, right, like Willie was basically like, yeah, I mean, he'll hang in there and then he'll be the apprentice and it'll all be fine, right? Yeah. This is
kind of exhibit A.
This is not that. So I don't, this what's going to happen here is there's going to be a lot of people mad at Yaroslav Askarov, right? And obviously it's not great for Barry Trotz that he's demanding a trade because, like for Barry, I mean, I think a move was already likely at some point, right? But you lose leverage when your guy's doing stuff like this, right? But I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked by this. And the reality is I don't know, but I'm assuming Askarov is also considering going to the KHL, right?
I don't know.
But I mean that is an alternative, at least that's a reasonable alternative for Russian players.
Yeah. Well, he clearly feels like he's ready for the NHL. Now, whether or not he actually is, I don't know. But he clearly feels that way. And look, we talked about this at the time. Like for him, just purely approaching this from his situation, when you give UC Saros an 8-year deal, you have to know at that point that your future in the National Hockey League is not going to be with the Nashville Predators.
Of course.
If you're going to be a starting NHL goaltender, it's not going to be here. You just signed a guy to an 8-year deal. There's effectively 9 years now left with UC Saros when you factor in the 1 year left this year on his current contract. Then the 8 after that. And by the way, the first 6 of those 8 have a no move clause. So he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the writing's on the wall. It's not surprising to me that Askarov wants out and wants to go somewhere else. I mean, we talked about that in the immediate aftermath. You know, I guess maybe I'm a little bit surprised that he has demanded a trade as quickly as he had and just seems to be not open at all to at least starting the year in Milwaukee and seeing how things go. But I can't say that I necessarily blame him either. Like if he feels like he's ready to be an NHL player, then he feels like he's ready to be an NHL player. He may be wrong. Like, and I guess we'll have to wait and see and find out as to whether or not he's right or wrong. But this is not necessarily unexpected. I would put it that way.
Obviously, what you'd like is for Askarov to say, okay, I'll show up at camp and I will be so good that you will have to consider me. And we've talked about like what might they do next year, right?
Yeah.
Like could get some spot starts, but still primarily be in Milwaukee.
Thing is, though, like to me, if you're him too, like Scott Wedgwood's a pretty good backup goalie. So
they basically they did not really clear the lane for you to come in and be goalie too, which is Willie's plan.
I know they've said, you know, Barry Trotz said that he's going to leave the door open in training camp for Askarov to come in and compete. But like Wedgwood's an NHL goalie. It's not like they've signed some scrub out there that's a tweener.
What's Wedgwood getting this year? Do you remember off the top of your head?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility that Askarov could come in and be like, oh my God, he's so much better than Wedgwood?
No, I don't think it's out of the. I mean, he signed a 2-year, $3 million deal, so 1.5 per year. So,
but to your point, it's still not like. I mean, I think if you're him, you'd at least like, okay, great. Then at least I'll get to play in the league. I'll get my 20-some starts, and then we
can move from there.
Yeah, we'll move from there. I'm in the league, and then I'll go wherever I'm going to go, right? At the trading deadline or whatever it is.
Right.
Instead, it's like, well, you can come compete with this guy, and, you're probably going to be in Milwaukee.
Right. But I think there are some people that just based on the text that I'm seeing and some people on Twitter that are seeing this from Kevin Winks that are like surprised by this. This does not register on my surprise scale of him requesting a trade.
No, the surprise scale is Willie saying that, that he would be fine with years of apprenticeship.
Yes. Yes.
Maybe I'm being a little rough on Willie.
Willie, what are we doing?
Whenever we get a chance to rip someone else at the station other
yes.
than who we normally rip, we're so refreshing, I just have to take advantage of this opportunity.
So I guess now the question is Barry Trotz going to accommodate this request? Because I will say it did not sound like, based on the reporting that's been around all this, it has never really sounded like Trotz has been in a hurry to do this. It's never sounded like he's been in a hurry to move on from Askarov. And I think still, like from the Predators' point of view, he is still arguably your most valuable prospect. Now, he's a goalie, and trying to figure out a trade for a goalie, whether it's at the NHL level or a prospect, is just a different deal. You don't see it happen a ton, but you can make the argument he's your best prospect. So you don't want to sell low on your best prospect, but he has now also come out and publicly said that he doesn't want to be a part of your organization anymore. So how do you handle that if you're Barry Trotz and the Predators?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think you may have to just lower your expectations even more. When it comes down to it, we've talked a lot, and look, at one point, I know you and I were both on the train of go with the future young guy and move Saros, the known commodity, and that obviously didn't happen. And now the Preds are loaded up here, and it's exciting. And the next couple of years with Saros and everything they have is going to be super fascinating and potentially really good.
Yep.
But all the talk that we had about, wow, what assets you have in these two goalies, you're going to get something big. It's not going to work out for you. It's not working out for you. So look, Ryan and Nash saying this is a huge mistake by Trotz. You have a future franchise goalie that will be better than Saros, and he'll be gone. I mean, look, if we knew he was going to be better than Saros, then the decision would be different, I think.
Right.
You don't know that. You don't know that. But certainly he made his choice, and I can't be shocked by this. I especially because I know it's a small sample size, but like when Askarov did get those spot starts, man, he didn't look out of place.
No.
I know that
The kid's going to be a good player.
He had the issues in the postseason. Sometimes he gets too emotional, all these things. Of course, you'd like to, quote unquote, overcook him like Trotz talks about, but the reality is what it is. And I bet you there are some teams out there who could see him in the crease this year for them in the NHL.
Yeah. Now,
and now they're like, oh, we can get him cheap.
Well, there's, you brought up the KHL. Sure, you could play that card if you're him. I don't know that he really wants to do that. I mean, to me, if you're going back to if you're threatening the KHL card, you better actually be willing to go play in the KHL.
Yeah.
And is he actually willing to do that? Because, first off, the political climate over there right now is something that you have to take in mind with that. Number two, we've seen it. I mean, they found out Askarov in the KHL was planning to come back over here to North America and play with the Predators, and they basically blackballed him.
Yeah.
They just left him on the bench. So you better be committed to playing over there, or they're not going to play you, right? So, people talking about the KHL card, Chase just texted me about it too. I understand he could play that card, but to me, if you're him, you better be actually willing to go do it if that's the card you're going to play.
And if what we've seen from him is accurate, I think he wants to be a star in the NHL.
I agree.
And I think he can be a star in the NHL and be a big personality in this league and all that stuff.
So is he going to be traded before camp? Is Barry Trotz going to piece together a deal here with him, or is this going to linger into the season and we're going to have a Yaroslav Askarov holdout situation on our hand? I'm interested to see how that goes. Is he just not going to show up to camp?
A Yara standoff?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
We've got to work on that one.
Yeah, that didn't really work out. Texter, huge mistake by Trotz. Should have not signed Saros that long of a deal. Again, you're either signing to the deal, which is what it is, or you're not signing him. There's no 4-year deals in this situation.
Right.
Not to mention Saros has been on a decline, plus never won bleep in the playoffs. Well, the decline thing, I don't know that I agree on the decline thing, but last year was overall his worst year. So, I mean, look, I signed up for Askarov before I said I would have done Askarov. What they've done now and adding around Saros and being ready to win right now, I can't argue with that. If I would have known that earlier, maybe I have a different answer. But now I look at this and maybe I go back to my old answer.
615.
I'm mad with you, text line.
1025.
Let's be mad together.
Yaroslav Askarov, according to Kevin Winks, has apparently requested a trade from the Predators. We'll take your reaction to that, your reaction to all things Titans from over the weekend. We'll try to get to all of it coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game.
Hey, folks, Joe Rexrode here talking FanDuel Sportsbook. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got something a little different for you here. From now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Let me speak personally for a moment. I'm a YouTube TV subscriber. And, of course, NFL Sunday Ticket, to me, absolutely essential on a Sunday. This is a fantastic deal, and it's definitely worth checking out. With the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and then you can cancel at any time. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/Joe102, download America's #1 sportsbook. And you must be 21 or older, present in Tennessee. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after the free trial. No refunds. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 800-889-9789.
Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Got a pair of tickets to give away to the Nashville Sounds Home Run Derby X at First Horizon Park, coming up on Saturday, August 31st. Participants include Manny Ramirez, Andrew Jones, Nick Swisher, Pedro Alvarez, among others. So should be a fun night out there at the ballpark.
Nice.
Be caller number 3, 615-737-1025. Caller 3 will win a pair of tickets to the Nashville Sounds Home Run Derby X at First Horizon Park, coming up on Saturday, August the 31st. Also, check out Nashville's Best Deal of the Week, Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German bratwurst, schnitzel, giant pretzels, and more in an Oktoberfest-inspired space. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. If you missed it, Kevin Weeks reporting that Yaroslav Askarov has requested a trade from the Nashville Predators and that he will not be reporting to AHL Milwaukee. So the latest news there. Lots of takes on the text line about that too.
The great Willie Donick Predators plan has failed.
Well, he's not traded yet.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Yaroslav, take a seat.
Oh, no. I was going to read this take, but it's disappeared from my screen.
I found it.
You found it? Read it. Read the take.
I got a text that says, great. Get Askarov out of here. A drama queen at this point in his career is not going to be anything other than a drama queen later. A distraction. Good riddance. Diva. This is from an unnamed texter on the text line.
Guy wants to play. God forbid a guy thinks he's good and wants to play hockey in his chosen profession. Now he's a diva. He's a problem. Thank goodness. Just like AJ Brown. He's mad at John Robinson. Oh, what a distraction in the locker room. Get him out of here. Yeah. How'd that work out?
Yeah. Look, I have no idea if Yaroslav Askarov is going to turn out to be a good NHL goalie. I think he is. I think he's going to be a pretty good player. I think he's got a lot of tools that are really, really good. So we'll see if that ends up happening, and if so, where it is. But clearly, I mean, like I said, the Predators chose this path when they signed Saros to an 8-year deal. As soon as they did that, you said that Askarov is not going to be your goalie moving forward.
And you were hoping that he'd be okay with the slow plan and eventually find a new home.
And clearly he's not. So, but now, again, he cannot be okay with it. And I'm still interested to see how Barry Trotz handles it. Because if the offers coming in for him are not up to par or not up to where Barry Trotz thinks they should be, like how long are you willing to play this game if you're Barry Trotz in terms of letting this thing drag on into the season? Like once push comes to shove, like it's one thing to say I'm not showing up to camp now. Does he feel the same way in a month? Like it's when the push comes to shove, is Askarov actually not going to show up and report to Milwaukee? If he's not, well, then I think that expedites things a little bit. That becomes a pretty big problem.
What's the finding mechanism?
I don't know. This, quite frankly,
because
doesn't happen a whole lot in NHL, really so I don't know. Yeah,
I feel like something will be worked out, right? Yeah. I try. Look, without having any idea what is being offered by who or how many. I mean, I think Trotz. There's got to be a little bit of urgency to just end this, right?
You know who's got a ton of assets? Who could make a interesting offer for them? The Chicago Blackhawks. They got a ton of assets. I'm just saying. Can you imagine?
Hey,
Askarov being the future goalie of
imagine the takes all these years of Askarov against Saros. Well, another team.
I mean, if their offer's good enough, don't you have to consider it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, another team that to me, I don't know about their asset situation necessarily, but the Red Wings badly need someone who looks like they might be able to be a professional goalie at some point.
Yep. I'm interested to see what this like. Is there anybody out there that looks at him and says he's NHL ready right now? And is that actually what Askarov wants, is to play in the NHL like full time next year, or is this just to get out of here and get to a spot where the path to becoming a starter relatively soon is more realistic?
Yeah, I mean it's probably, but I'm sure he has to be realistic enough to understand he's someone's backup right now, right? Like, but
unless you're going to like.
Well,
San Jose.
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, I mean, he might be the best. I mean, he might start for the Red Wings right now. But I'm sure, obviously, it's like, would he be – here's a question. If this had not happened and right now it was like, well, Saros is still, he's going his last year and maybe they'll trade or whatever, would Askarov then be like, okay, I'm fine. I'll go to Milwaukee and buy my time and see how it all plays out?
I think he would.
Yeah.
I mean, this is in direct response to
being told that you're not the future of the franchise.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You've been told that. And so now you're like, okay, well, I want my future somewhere else to start right now.
Right. And we'll see if that actually happens. Jordan on YouTube throwing the question out there. Who's more likely to remain on the current team, Askarov or Narison, the kicker for the Titans?
On Askarov Narison day on the program. You have V
Did
in
not
your
have that
name.
one on the bingo card today.
Yeah. Askarvison?
Not bad.
Well, this is also
this practice squad.
We've been ripping Willie. I want to rip Trotz just for a minute too. Trotz has done a really good job, but like he has had these comments like, "Oh, I've been in other teams where you had 2 goalies and stuff," and it's just like, but that's not this situation.
Yeah.
How could it be this situation?
Well, and also, and I said this at the time, he talked about Schneider and Luongo. He talked about Bishop and Vasilevsky. And there are examples you can point to of 2 good goalies being on the same team at the same time. And eventually, one of them always moved.
Exactly. Right.
They didn't stay very long because they said, nope, I can go be a starter somewhere else.
Yeah.
So
it's just does he just take pennies on the dollar, so to speak, to end this, or does he just all right? Let's see. Okay, let's see if he doesn't actually show up.
If he does, that brings up a really interesting part of this too, because the way this offseason has gone down has changed everything with the franchise, right? Like you've got Stamkos and Marchessault and everybody. I mean, there's going to be more anticipation about this year than almost any other year in the history of the Predators franchise based on who they've signed. And all that's great. And I think they have a chance to be pretty good. And then on the other side of it, like looking at kind of digging through the weeds here is what you've brought up. Like you could conceivably get to the situation where you sign Saros to an 8-year deal, you didn't trade him, and you end up trading Askarov for way less than you thought maybe you could heading into all this. And the return that you got for trading one of those 2 assets is just really low. Like, what's the reaction to that if that happens at that point?
The reaction to that is tell me how the team does the next couple of years.
Better go win. Yeah.
I mean, if this all works out and you're great in the short term, then
who cares?
This is why you do things like that. If not, the Askarov takes for so many years.
Yeah.
It'll be the AJ Brown.
If I talk myself into wanting him to go to Chicago,
I mean, that's
juicy.
Spicy. Actually, Logan has the trade, definitely. Now, I can't believe I didn't think about this. Duh. Askarov to Colorado for Nathan McKinnon. Duh. Of course.
There you go.
Is that going to be Willie's plan today? Willie, what's your plan? I want to hear your plan, Willie.
They really need somebody to play with Roman Josi, so Brady Shea can be on that second pair. So just go get Makar.
Oh, yeah. How about, if they got McKinnon and Makar and maybe threw in like a pick, right? With that? Is that your plan, Willie? I got to stop. I know.
Willie,
I love you, Willie.
For this.
I love Willie.
I do too. Interesting end of the show there with
that
Askarov. I was glad to talk about something other than preseason football.
Askarvison.
Yes. That does it for us today. Chasing Big Joe is coming up next. You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.